Welcome to African Tales Mirror, where vibrant African stories come alive. Don't forget to like, comment, and share as we journey through the wisdom and wonders of our heritage. Amanda sighed as she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the offer letter in her hands. She had finally secured a job after months of searching, but there was one problem. Her closing time was 5 p.m., and her husband, David, was unreliable. Whether he had worked at his carpentry workshop or not, he always came home late. That meant Martina, their 7-year-old daughter, would have no one to care for her after school. She thought long and hard about a solution until her mind settled on their neighbor's son, Daniel. He was quiet and respectful young man, preparing for his joint admissions and matriculations board JAM examinations. Amanda had seen him helping his younger siblings with their homework, and his mother, Mrs. Benson, was a good friend. Surely, he would be the best person to look after Martina until she returned from work. The next morning, Amanda knocked on Mrs. Benson's door and explained her situation. "Would you mind if Martina stays with Daniel after school? The school bus will drop her at home, and I'll pick her up once I'm back," she asked hopefully. Mrs. Benson smiled warmly. "Of course, Daniel will be happy to help. We are neighbors, and Martina is like a daughter to me." Relieved, Amanda thanked her and left, feeling confident that her daughter would be in safe hands. The arrangement seemed perfect. Every afternoon, Martina would walk into the Benson's house after school, where Daniel welcomed her with a warm smile. He would help her with her homework, give her snacks, and even tell her funny stories. Amanda was pleased when Martina began showing more interest in her studies, assuming Daniel's tutoring had inspired her. One evening, when Amanda picked Martina up, Daniel greeted her with his usual politeness. "She's doing great in school, ma'am," he said. Amanda beamed with pride. "Thank you so much, Daniel. You're really helping her." Martina remained quiet beside her mother, her small hands gripping the hem of her dress. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Amanda asked as they walked home. "It was fine, Mommy," Martina said in a small voice. Amanda did not notice the hesitation in her daughter's tone, nor did she see the way Martina avoided looking back at the house. She had no idea that darkness was creeping in, threatening to shatter their lives forever. Days turned into weeks, and everything seemed fine, at least to Amanda. Martina continued staying at the Benson's house after school, and Amanda felt at ease, knowing her daughter was in a safe place. Daniel was doing an excellent job. He helped Martina with her homework, and she even showed improvement in her studies. But then, small changes started appearing. Martina became quieter than usual. She no longer ran to Amanda with excitement when she returned from work. Instead, she would walk slowly beside her, staring at the ground. "Are you okay, Martina?" Amanda asked one evening, noticing her daughter's reluctance to speak. "Yes, Mommy," Martina whispered. Amanda dismissed the thought. Maybe Martina was just tired from school. After all, Daniel was helping her study more than before. She should be grateful. That night, as Martina lay in bed, she pulled the blanket over her head. She wished she could tell her mother what was happening. She wished she could escape. But Daniel had warned her. "Don't tell anyone," he had whispered in her ear, "or else you'll get into trouble." Martina dreaded going to the Benson's house, but she had no choice. Every afternoon, as soon as she stepped inside, Daniel's smile made her stomach twist in fear. He would act so normal when others are around, but when they were alone, his touch changed from friendly to something else, something that made Martina feel dirty. One afternoon, she finally gathered the courage to speak. "Mommy, I don't want to stay with Daniel anymore," Martina said hesitantly while Amanda was preparing dinner. Amanda frowned. "Why, Martina? Isn't he helping with your homework?" Martina hesitated, her little hands trembling. I don't want to stay there," Amanda sighed. Martina, I got this job to make sure we have a good life. I don't have anyone else to watch over you. Daniel is a good boy. He helps you with school. You should be grateful. Tears filled Martina's eyes, but she said nothing. Her mother wouldn't believe her. No one would. The next day, as she walked back into the Benson's house, Daniel smacked at her. You didn't tell, did you? Martina shook her head, her heart pounding. She had never felt more alone. Amanda continued to ignore the little signs. She was too busy with work, too grateful for Daniel's help to see the pain in her daughter's eyes. Even when Martina started waking up in the middle of the night screaming from nightmares, Amanda assumed it was just childhood fears. When Martina flinched at sudden movement or hesitated before entering the Benson's house, Amanda thought she was being stubborn. One evening, Mrs. Benson stopped Amanda on her way home. Martina seems quiet these days. Is she okay? Amanda sighed. I don't know what's wrong with her. She keeps saying she doesn't want to stay with Daniel, but I know he's helping her so much. Mrs. Benson nodded. Maybe she's just adjusting. Children can be strange sometimes. Amanda agreed. She convinced herself that Martina was just being difficult. But deep down, something felt wrong. And soon, she would realize just how wrong she had been. Martina felt like she was suffocating. Every day, she dreaded the moment when the school bus would drop her off at home. The moment she stepped inside the Benson's house, Daniel's demeanor would change. When his mother was around, he acted like the perfect older brother, smiling, offering her snacks, and helping with homework. But when they were alone, the nightmare began again. Don't cry, he whispered one afternoon, pressing a finger to her lips. Remember what I said. If you tell anyone, they won't believe you. Your mom will be mad at you. Martina swallowed back her sobs. Her little hands clenched into fists. She wanted to run, to hide, to disappear. But where would she go? She was just a child. That evening, as Amanda picked her up, Martina forced a smile. She had tried telling her mother before, but it didn't work. No one was going to save her. The nightmares grew worse. Martina barely slept, and when she did, she would wake up screaming. Amanda was becoming frustrated. Martina, what is wrong with you? You used to love sleeping in your room, she scolded one night after Martina ran into her bedroom crying. Martina wiped her tears and shook her head. I just don't want to be alone. Amanda sighed and hugged her. You have to be a big girl, okay? You need to sleep in your own room. Martina nodded, but she didn't feel safe anywhere. Not in her room, not at school, and definitely not in the Benson's house. The next day, as the school bus pulled up, she hesitated from stepping down. Miss Grace, she whispered to her teacher, who was helping the children out of the bus. Can I stay here? The teacher smiled. No, dear, your mommy will be waiting for you. Martina wanted to scream that she didn't want to go home, but she didn't know how to say it. Instead, she stepped down and walked towards her house, her stomach twisting in knots. It wasn't until Martina started falling sick that Amanda truly became concerned. At first, she thought it was just fatigue, but Martina was growing weaker by the day. She ate less, spoke less, and started walking with discomfort. Are you feeling okay, baby? Amanda asked one morning as she prepared Martina for school. Martina shook her head. My stomach hurts. And down there, it hurts too. Amanda frowned. What do you mean? Martina hesitated, then whispered, It hurts when I sit. A cold chill ran down Amanda's spine, but she quickly dismissed it. Maybe Martina had fallen or had an infection. Children complain about all sorts of things. Still, something about Martina's face, her pale, scared expression, made Amanda's stomach tighten. She had ignored the signs for too long, and soon the truth would hit her harder than she ever imagined. Amanda couldn't ignore it anymore. Martina was getting worse. She had lost her usual energy, barely smiled, and her once bright eyes were now dull with sadness. That morning, when Martina struggled to get out of bed, Amanda rushed to her side. "What's wrong, baby?" Tears streamed down Martina's face as she whispered, "Mommy, I can't stand up. It hurts." Amanda's heart pounded. "Where does it hurt?" Martina pointed weakly between her legs. Amanda's breath caught in her throat. "Let me see," she said, her voice trembling. When she pulled Martina's underwear down, she gasped. Her daughter's private area was swollen, reddish and bruised. The world spun around Amanda. Then everything went black. When Amanda regained consciousness, she was on the floor, her head throbbing. Martina was crying beside her, shaking her shoulders. "Mommy, wake up!" Amanda sat up, tears streaming down her face as she pulled her daughter into a tight embrace. "Who did this to you?" she choked out. Martina hesitated, then whispered, "Daniel." Amanda felt like the air had been sucked from her lungs. "No! No! That's not possible!" she muttered. But deep down, she knew it was. She had ignored Martina's warnings. She had forced her daughter to stay with him, and now she had failed her in the worst way possible. Without another word, Amanda grabbed her phone and dialed a number with shaking hands. She wasn't going to let this go. Justice had to be served. Mrs. Benson opened the door with a warm smile. "Amanda, what a surprise. Is everything okay?" Amanda pushed past her, eyes blazing with fury. "Where is your son?" Mrs. Benson frowned. "Daniel? He's inside studying." "What's wrong?" Amanda's voice shook. "Your son has been molesting my daughter." The color drained from Mrs. Benson's face. "What? No! That's impossible. Daniel would never." "Martina told me everything. I saw what he did to her," Amanda screamed. At that point, Daniel stepped into the living room. He froze when he saw Amanda's tear-streaked face and the rage in her eyes. "Auntie Amanda," he stammered. "How could you?" Amanda longed at him, but Mrs. Benson blocked her. "Wait, let's talk about this." "Talk?" Amanda laughed bitterly. "Your son ruined my child's life. I'm going to the police." Mrs. Benson clutched her chest. "Please, Amanda, think about this. We've been friends for years." Amanda glared at her. "And I trusted you with my daughter. Look what that trust cost me." She turned on her heels and stormed out. Daniel would not go unpunished. Amanda rushed Martina to the hospital. As the doctors examined her, Amanda sat outside the room, her hands trembling. A nurse approached. "Ma'am, we need to conduct tests to confirm the extent of the abuse." Amanda nodded, barely able to speak. After what felt like hours, a doctor came out, his expression grim. "Your daughter has suffered severe trauma. We will document everything for legal purposes. Have you reported this to the authorities?" Amanda clenched her fist. "I'm going there now." She took Martina in her arms and whispered, "I promise, baby, he will pay for this." Then with fire in her heart, she headed straight for the police station. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and share. Bye.